What is something that was used heavily in the year 2000, but it's almost never used today? Geocities, Neopets, Livejournal, Kazaa. Neopets don't die though. I logged in after a long ass time and my Neopet was starving. So I fed it a piece of the omelette and he said yuck, I don't like omelettes. So I logged off and let the sassy little bat starve for another 10 years. They could be such picky little bastards. I remember trying to make one of my pets into a bookworm only for them to scoff at half the books I bought. Apparently, one trick to this, and it might work for food too, is to change the browser's language settings. So, I changed my Chrome to French and it worked. Only problem is, when I changed the settings back to English, the site wouldn't change with it. So Neopets is stuck in French for me. Someone who can barely remember what meager vocabulary they learned in 9th grade. All because of a picky ass Neopet. If you had a big screen TV, it was probably a ridiculously thick rear projection TV. My parents can't get it out of the house. Spinning under construction GIFs on websites. Remember when most websites had a hit counter on them? And the email address of the webmaster? ICQ. Couple of years ago, I had a number come into my head. Recognized it but didn't know where from. For over a year it kept bugging me. Was it my college enrollment password? Number for someone I worked with when I worked overseas? Not a clue for the longest time. Random convo with a friend about old memes and things we miss about the early internet days. And I just blurted out it's my ducking ICQ number. With no context. Edit forgot to put mine. 132,133,677. Rewritable CDs. I used to burn so many mixed CDs after downloading from Napster, Becher, LimeWire, FrostWire. Then my mother would call, disconnecting the internet, and I would have to start the download all over again. Except one file wasn't an MP3, but a virus. I would just reinstall Windows before my mom got home, as we saved every picture and document on a zip drive. Then those fancy jazz drives. Also Adobe without a subscription. Oh my god. I could never, for the life of me, ever record onto a CDRW. Never could work, no matter which options I tried. Ended up just burning CDRs and trashing them when I was done. Computer mice with a ball. My friend had one of the first Microsoft IntelliMouseLink, which did not use a ball. As I recall, it was the first laser mouse without a ball that was commercialized in a popular way. It was released in October 1999. So in 2000, most mice were with a ball and slowly faded away. Remember having to clean the ball. Who even knows how that much gunk got in there in a relatively short time. PDAs. Personal digital assistants. I still have my Palm Pilot. It was amazing at the time. Whenever I write something down on my hand, I always say out loud, I'll put that in my Palm Pilot. I get a sad chuckle every time. Phone books. I actually used one last week. I needed the home number of a local mechanic. He'd fixed my car, but had forgotten to give me my keys. So when I went to get my car after work, I couldn't. The internet only listed the shop number. I called my dad, who's a friend of his, and he said, just use the phone book. Like it was the most obvious thing in the world. I did have a phone book and was able to call him. So it all worked out in the end. Payphones. Edit. Yes, I know payphones still exist. Also, I'm now very aware payphones are free in Australia. Thank you for informing me. In Australia they recently made all payphones free. The cost of collecting the cash was higher than the revenue they were making, so they can save money by giving away free calls. They should do that everywhere. You never know when you're gonna need to make an emergency call and for some reason not be able to do it from your hand phone. Zip disks. Remember jazz disks? I was so blown away by a 1GB disc. This week I got a micro SD card for my Switch. 64 gigs in a micro card for less than 20 bucks. I really marvel at the advancements in our storage technology just within my lifetime. Indoor smoking. My youngish kids marvel at the fact that people used to sit in restaurants and smoke. Blockbuster card. I live a half hour away from one. Granted, it's the last one, but still. VCRs. Tape rewinders. Be kind. Rewind. I like the ones that had the form of a sports car. Maps or MapQuest. My wife calls Google Maps MapQuest. If we need directions she'll tell me to MapQuest it on my phone. My wife still used MapQuest until maybe 2 years ago when I asked her if she was looking for directions back to 1998. Blue eyeshadow. You could always tell when a junior high school aged girl finally got the okay from her parents to start wearing makeup. She'd show up at school every day for the next month looking like a blue panda. AOL. Not to my parents. They both still use this shit for their internet ML and browser. Ask Jeeves Lickus Yahoo. I remember my grandma was convinced that you had to word your searches in the form of a question for Ask Jeeves to work properly. TBF, this is the way I was taught to use Ask Jeeves in elementary school. Proper phrasing gives the algorithm the proper context. Google said duck it, let's do PageRank. Download managers. Start the download right after mom goes to bed. Wake up before her to pause the download and disconnect the dial-up connection. Resume tomorrow night. Repeat. A week later, you're playing Counter-Strike. And now you can download the torrent in like 2 minutes. The perspective is staggering. A 1080p 30 fps video using old 2000 codecs like MPG-1 at high quality is like 40 mLebs instead of modern .264, 265 being like 8. A YouTube video of that quality takes like 2 minutes today at that quality. In 2000 on dial-up using contemporary codecs would have required 165 hours. Calculators. Teachers kept saying you won't have one with you all the time. Look who's stupid now. Bitch. Both of us. Even at the time it didn't make sense. Some calculators are small enough to fit in your pocket. If you really wanted one. Landlines. Also 1-800 collect and 1-800 calet. Dial down the middle. LimeWire. Using LimeWire to get LimeWire Pro. And feeling like the smartest person ever for figuring that out. Azel. Too old not in a while. Over the hill. Over the hill works for both A and L. Also works for if you try. Any sort of dedicated music playing device. Before that just became a part of your phone. RIP Creatives in Touch. You were a wonderful green brick. Edit, it was the Vision M that was green. The Touch was a white brick. Loved them both. Dial-up. Roughly 10 million Americans still use dial-up. Not by choice. The USA does a horrible job of rural broadband. Each year, AT&T, Comcast and others take millions and run no lines, but claim they wanted to. The whole thing is a scam on taxpayers. The government's tracking of coverage areas says if one person in a zip code gets internet, the whole zip code gets internet, so they hide how bad it is. Comcast refused to hook up my house at any price, even 100,000, because they didn't see profit in just a few customers. You can't even buy Comcast at a nearby address and run your own cable. That is against their rules. Cell phone companies also lie with their coverage maps. Even areas they know aren't covered are shown as covered on their maps and they won't correct them, even if you call and complain over and over. The phase with ZAP was up. Colored spiky hair gel. Edit laughing my butt off. Great, I've got this guy link to thank for my highest rated comment ever. Bro, I'm still waiting for the day Frosted Tips make a comeback. Honestly man, the kids these days look straight out to the 90s. Though most of them seem to think it's original. Wouldn't surprise me if Frosted Tips are next. LOL. I was at my buddy's last week and his 13-year-old walks out with a 90s haircut, necklace, and shirt. Tamagotchis. These are actually coming back. I just bought one for my kid for Christmas. JNCO jeans. My 13-year-old son stole the 4 pairs I had left from my storage last month to restore. He's fixing the hems, dye baths, fixing the patches, etc. So I would guess that 1996, 97, 2005 look is on its way back. This can basically just be what has our phones replaced: calculators, CDS, radios, alarm clocks, MP3 players, GPS units, PCS to an extent banks, checks, landlines and payphones. Need I go on? AIM and MSN Messenger. Edit sweet Jesus this blew up. Thank you all for bringing back even more memories of the late 90s early 2000s rushing home to fire up the dial up and start chatting with the same friends I'd already spent hours talking to that day. To whichever one of you guys sent the silver, you have officially made my day with, if I'm not mistaken, my first ever award. Thank you man. Edit again wholesome and gold awards too. Much appreciated. I can't believe what I expected to be a throwaway comment that would quickly disappear achieved all this. Dude, my primary email is still my old AIM name. I'm having to scroll really far without seeing this, but TiVo. If you had one of those, it was like cable television, satellite TV, and your VCR recorder had an AI baby. There was so much power in consumers' hands for the first time in the television business. Did your company pay for a catchy jingle, professional actors, camera equipment, writers, and pay extra to roll it on a primetime slot? Doesn't matter anymore, suckers. I had a TiVo, and all it took was that little familiar Bardock from my remote to 100 skipped commercials. More than that, competitions for national TV ratings were skewed. I could watch House while Bones recorded on another channel at the same time. With a TiVo I could keep a massive library of cable reruns of my choice. That thing was short-lived as actual streaming shook up the industry more and phased TiVo out. But TiVo had a solid 10 years of being the shiz. I don't have TiVo anymore, but I want to. It automatically skips commercials. It tapes Criminal Minds no matter what channel it's on, or any show that has Robin Williams. If you do have a show that doesn't automatically skip commercials, you can fast forward and it will stop when the show starts back up. I haven't seen anything else do that for one lifetime price. PlayStation 2. It was the hottest thing in 2000. Ah yes, the year my parents told everyone I was into games because I'd asked for a PS2. And I got 3 copies of Monopoly for Christmas. Worst Christmas ever. CDs. I still collect CDs for albums I really like, but rip them to flak and treat the disc as an archive. I still want the booklet case. Pisses me off when there's no booklet. That's why I bought physical. Radios in the house, not in the car. My grandmother had a little transistor radio that she used during storms. She'd go in her bathroom with her radio, her storm map from one of the news stations, and her dog. It was so cute.